Hi, this is Taylor-Canfield live from Seattle, where demonstrations have been going on all across the country and also in Seattle today. So we're going to go out and check out what's going on in downtown Seattle, where I've been getting reports of a heavy police presence and a lot of tense apprehension and fear down there. So all across the country, people have been rising up, have been revolting because of the police killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis, and also many other black men and women, including Breonna Taylor in Louisville. So Louisville is also in an uprising. Cities all over the country: Chicago, Atlanta, Los Angeles, Denver, Chicago, New York City, Seattle, Portland. There are riots going on everywhere. And so we're going out on the streets today in Seattle to see what's happening here. This is Taylor-Canfield for the MTC report. So this is Westlake Park, where the rally was supposed to be, but it seems to be empty. And there are National Guardsmen hanging out in broken windows that they're standing in front of at the Nordstrom Rack. And there's a helicopter up above, which is usually a sign that there's a protest nearby. Here come Seattle Boy Scouts doing their thing, patrolling, I guess. But I don't know where the march is at. There are other members of the press and photographers down here. But this is June 1st, and it's getting close to curfew time, so they're probably, it looks like they're going to start blocking people from being able to get into the park. So I don't know how you would protest there anyway. A lot of cars showing up. So this might be because we're heading onto a curfew time here. But I'll have to check to see if I can figure out where the march is actually happening. So these guys are basically blocking the intersection. And the police are lining up here, and then the National Guards are over there. So I don't know what's going on. No idea. So here is the march. It actually left from Westlake earlier, apparently, and now they're back. There's quite a few people showing up here. So there's a lot of police here, all lined up with clubs and things, ready to go. And then standing off with them is this group, which is just gathered in the street. Everyone is kneeling now. It's a lot of people here. Situation, we are at Westlake Park, and the police have cordoned it all off, pretty much. Although they let me in with my press badge. A lot of people here. They're all kneeling right now. And I am too. Don't shoot! 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 there are a lot of people here. Thousands, maybe. So this is 5th and Pine. And the police are lined up here. They're letting some people in, but they're kind of blocking it off. And the Starbucks is advertising that it's open. Jerry Marche.
Yeah, tell my governor in Olympia, I want him to open up the dry cleaning shop because I'm handicapped and I can't get my clothes clean.
Oh, I see. So you're having a hard time getting your laundry done, huh?
Yeah, I'd appreciate it if you just let them clean the clothes. It don't take too much. If you're cleaning clothes,
right,
you ain't gonna catch no disease.
Right.
Yeah, and I'd appreciate that.
That's an essential business, yeah.
Yeah, that's an essential business.
What do you think about the protests going on out here?
Well, I think about some of it is good and some of it is bad.
Right, yeah.
I don't appreciate people tearing up other people's stuff.
Right.
I won't take nobody tear up my stuff, and I don't want to tear up nobody else's stuff. Because they say what goes around comes around.
So you support the protest, but not the vandalism, right?
None, because I can spot these traitors from way up.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So they kind of like take the attention away from the real issues, yeah.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
Shouldn't have to.
Shouldn't have to, and
I like this.
Yeah.
I'm for this.
Yeah, all of this been going on ever since around 1 o'clock today.
Since 1 o'clock?
Yeah, well, I
right
first
here?
came out there. I live right around the corner here.
So you live near 4th and Pine. So
this is my neighborhood. I came getting the grocery stores and stuff because everything these wackos done had the place bolted up, and it's hard.
Yeah, it's good that they're letting
plates on cop cars are illegal.
I'm glad that they're letting people protest because after the day before yesterday,
yeah,
I wondered whether they'd even allow protests. So,
yeah.
But the curfew supposedly was at 6 o'clock, but I guess they're going to let them protest anyway.
Yeah, let them.
Unless somebody starts throwing bottles or something, then they might get kind of crazy.
Yeah,
so.
they ain't got no, if they want to protest, they ain't got no business throwing the bottles. They shouldn't even be tearing up. If you're sitting here, they letting you do stuff. Don't
should be peaceful,
yeah. Be peaceful.
Hey.
I know I have a lot of people have.
Right. Buy me a pack
I'm 80 years old.
Give you some money.
And I remember when I come to Seattle,
Shut up.
you couldn't even sit on the sidewalk. You couldn't go on the top. I got a jaywalking ticket for standing on the corner, for standing 1 feet on the street, and 1 on the curb for attempted jaywalk. And I did 30 days in jail for that in 1962.
Wow.
You know, and they got all things here that going on, but I appreciate them, and they're getting away. They let them do stuff here, and it's okay.
I forgot your name. What was your name again?
Jerry Marche.
Jerry. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
You're a very interesting gentleman, and I appreciate you talking.
Make sure to tell my good friend Inslee that I voted for him.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Jerry. Really appreciate talking to you.
Oh, Trick is nice.
If it wasn't the COVID virus, I would give you a high five. But
I hear you. It's
you guys take care. You stay safe today.
Oh, I'm
you
going
too.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
You too.
And just so you know, my name is Mark Taylor-Canfield, and I'm with Democracy Watch News. So we're good guys. We try to tell the truth. So now the crowd is kind of gathering again. I don't know. The police are still here. So this is Mark Taylor-Canfield, and we are at Westlake Park still. And it's hard to see because the sun is quite bright. So this is quite a big difference from the other day when it was pouring down rain and I was completely soaked halfway through the day. Now We are at Westlake Park, and it looks like, the city is allowing the protest to continue, even though there's a curfew at 6 o'clock and the, quote, official protest. The reason I say that is because, protesting should be allowed when it's necessary, but that protest rally started here around 1 o'clock, went on all afternoon. It's now almost 6 o'clock, and the mayor has called a curfew for 6 o'clock, but there's still probably thousands of people down here, and I'm hoping that cooler heads will prevail and they'll let people protest and express themselves. Everybody took a knee just a minute ago, including yours truly, and now people are making speeches and chanting Black Lives Matter, I can't breathe. And there's a big meeting happening in the middle of the street with thousands of people basically here at Westlake Park. So this is Mark Taylor-Canfield in downtown Seattle. You can hear the helicopters above. I personally, for many reasons, am not really that interested in being in the middle of the crowd. For one thing, we are cordoned off on all sides by police, so I do not want to get trapped in there if they start unloading pepper spray and tear gas. And usually it only takes like one person or something throwing a bottle at the police, some empty plastic bottle or something or whatever, or a incendiary device like a firecracker, and then boom. So I'm trying to stay out of it. Plus, I think it's a good idea for many reasons. The helicopter is circling above, which I'm assuming is a police helicopter keeping tabs on everything. But there are thousands of people here. So far peaceful. There are businesses with their windows boarded up from previous days' protests. And it's a big gathering down here. So this is Mark Taylor-Canfield reporting from downtown Seattle during the third day of the protests of the killing of George Floyd. So some police are deploying right here now. You can see the boarded up windows behind them. They've been staging from up behind the Starbucks. There are a lot of police down there lining up at 5th and Pine. And there are also National Guard here, not far away. I see a police vehicle, van, pulling up. That's not a good sign. That might mean they're willing to arrest people. And now we have this line here of people that have decided to kind of like gather here, I think, to show that they realize what's going on. So we have some National Guardsmen right there. Wish I could get them in focus. This is a very, very large crowd, and they're getting ready to march again after curfew. And the police that were blocking 5th and Pine here for a while actually have moved away, so they must have been given information that people wanted to march, and so they moved out of the way to let them march. Here at 5th and Pine, and there's a huge march, thousands of people that have gathered. For a while the police were sort of corralling them off, blocking them in, but now that police line has left the area and they've blocked the side streets. So it looks like the march is going to continue into the night. This is Mark Taylor-Canfield from downtown Seattle, June 1st, 2020. And these police are blocking the side street at 5th and Pine, so they're not going to let them go down by the monorail tracks here. Okay, they're marching. So here we go. And they're moving pretty fast, so I'm going to have to keep up here. And there's the police blocking out the side streets. And even dogs like the protest, apparently. This is Mark Taylor-Canfield, and we're on day 3 of the protests that have been happening in Seattle. It's been quite wild, crazy week with both the governor and the mayor having emergency press briefings. A curfew's been called in downtown Seattle between 5 p.m. and 5 a.m. Although today it's not until 6 apparently. But there have been ongoing clashes with police, protests on Capitol Hill last night. It's a third day for Seattle, but for other cities around the country it's been going on quite a bit longer. Places like Minneapolis and Louisville, of course, but it's spreading all across the country and to Germany, the UK, other countries that also have their own problems, racial problems with police. So here we are in Seattle, and we're headed downtown. Now the curfew is going to be enforced in just a short time here, and we'll see what happens with the protests. The city council has been complaining about the excessive use of pepper spray, tear gas, and excessive use of force on the protesters. They had a meeting today, a full council meeting on that. So we'll see what happens. This is Mark Taylor-Canfield reporting on day 3 of the battle in Seattle, episode 2, round 2. So it's been pretty serious. I mean, there have been National Guard called out in I think like 18 or 20 states by now. And so what happened in Minneapolis with George Floyd has spread all across the country and all across the world. And here in Seattle, there's been looting and vandalism. Downtown was sort of like a war zone with police cars on fire and all sorts of stuff. So this is the third day, and we'll see if the city has calmed down at all. But yeah, this is an international situation at this point. Martial law, basically, on the streets in Seattle. But then again, Seattle is kind of known for its protesting history, and you know, a lot of people are used to it here. So, oh, that beautiful smell of tear gas and pepper spray. It's kind of a part of the. That's interesting. I have to film this. This is not a military vehicle, by the way, but that's kind of interesting that over here is parked this huge truck. That is obviously not a police vehicle. Going all the way back to the demonstrations here during the World Trade Organization and throughout the Iraq War protests, Black Lives Matter, Occupy Wall Street, all of these have been a series of protests in Seattle, and it's continuing today. So it's part of the culture. And I noticed that there's a lot of people walking around these days with masks, which makes them all look suspiciously like either anarchists or somebody headed to a protest, because there are some issues here. Like you really do need to have goggles, something to cover your face and your eyes from the rubber bullets and the pepper spray balls. And it's important to have water on you and all sorts of other things. So this is the basic toolkit if you're a journalist or an activist and you're trying to protest in Seattle, which is no doubt a major city. I mean, I'm right in Google land right now. Google and Amazon have built a lot of these buildings. So it is definitely a major city. Which major billion-dollar real estate developments. So I was going to say too that even just recently, during the Women's March, there are estimates of about 130,000 people marching in Seattle. During the Women's March last year, it was huge. It really brought the city together in a way that we hadn't seen before. And then this year, of course, the Women's March, which was scheduled for February, was canceled, rescheduled, and then completely, or postponed, rescheduled, and then completely canceled. So people didn't have an opportunity to go. But here you have an example of what's going on. Of course, downtown, people are boarding up their windows and things to try to stop vandalism, because there have been a lot of broken windows down here. So we're on Broadway now, on Capitol Hill. So the marchers have come all the way from downtown, where most of the marches have been happening, at Westlake Center. So now, as you can see behind me,
YouTube, Cuddy?
It's good. Thousands of people, and they're still marching despite the curfew. And they're headed across Broadway now. Amazing number of people. Here comes the main crowd. So on the other side of Pike, things are pretty slow. Some of them, you know, very iconic spots here like Neumos, the Comet Tavern. But there's hardly anybody here. Because the city is kind of on lockdown. For those of you who don't know, the Comet Tavern is a very iconic place in Seattle where a lot of great bands have played. And Neumos, of course, is one of the best places to see a show in Seattle. So this little corridor between Pine and Pike Street on Capitol Hill is really cool. And there are still some businesses open. Look at this. They're not worried about property damage. And there's Mama's, or there's Mario's, one of my favorite places to hang out. Mario's Pizza next to the Cha-Cha. Wow, they remembered David Bowie with this one. We can be heroes just for one day. This is at the Wild Rose, a very famous lesbian bar in Seattle. This is cool.
Protesting violence.
A public hand washing station.
The name of the socks.
This is Mark Taylor-Canfield, and I'm at the police barricades on Capitol Hill just east of the East Precinct, where thousands of demonstrators have gathered outside of the police station. The surrounding streets are blocked off. As you can see, there's a major demonstration happening right now. Everything looks peaceful at this point. There's a lot of people down there. So this is on Capitol Hill. The marchers came from Westlake and headed up the hill and stopped at Boren and Pine for a while, and then crossed Broadway, and now they're at the East Precinct of the Seattle Police Department. It's a very large crowd, and I'm standing here with a photographer from the Seattle Times, and I told him this is like a great cover photo right here. It's an amazing angle. You see so many people down there. And of course the typical signs. Black Lives Matter. So this has been going on all day. This is the third day of protests in Seattle. And so far everything seems to be peaceful. Pretty relaxed atmosphere. And there's a lot of people protesting right now on Capitol Hill. This is Mark Taylor-Canfield reporting for Democracy Watch News in Seattle. So this protest has sort of taken on the feeling of a sort of a festival now. So there are people hanging out at Cal Anderson Park. At the baseball field, as you can see, people are hanging out up there. That might be a good place for me to go to get a good view of what's happening at the police station across the street. This is really cool. Everybody's watching the protests. This is near the police station. So concussion grenades are going off right now outside the precinct, and people are running, as you can see. So obviously things are bad again. I hear people screaming. This is getting bad. That's all tear gas now. Bad, folks. I gotta get out of here. I can't. Concussion grenades, tear gas, the whole thing. Everything seemed to be peaceful. I left for just a few minutes and I came back, and all of a sudden the police are now lobbying tear gas at the demonstrators outside of the East Precinct in Seattle. This is not going to calm tensions. I don't know what happened, what instigated it. I came back and now this is what you've got. So we are right in front of the East Precinct, actually just down the street from it, and there's tons of tear gas being deployed. Once again, even though this is exactly what the city council complained about earlier today at their full council meeting. I'm here as a member of a news organization trying to report on this, but it's very dangerous right now. The police are lobbying tear gas onto the crowd. So now the violence will happen because the police have already opened fire on the crowd with tear gas and concussion grenades. Get off the street! And now they're going to start using everything in their disposal to get rid of people. I don't know what caused this. I have no idea why the police opened fire on the crowd outside of the police station. Up until now, it's been very peaceful. Not now though. They're lobbying tear gas randomly into the crowd. And as you can see, it's also very dangerous for members of the media like me and that guy with the camera, because we're trying to document it, but they're lobbying it in our direction.
And they were really running, and the police had had enough in Bellevue. Just across the lake there in Seattle.
So, I have no idea why this is happening. So barricades are being built. Barricades are being built. I gotta get out of here. Yeah. Now they're lobbying concussion grenades into the park, into the city park. I had my camera shut off, but we just had one happen right there. And there's a tear gas canister right there. Right there. So they're opening fire on the crowd again. So many times this weekend it's been like this. Huge gas clouds.
You gotta move that gas.
And we are going to get gassed, so we got to get out of here. So now, there's all sorts of things going on in the park too. This is a city park. It's called Hal Anderson Park. So that's all tear gas out in the city park now. Everything was peaceful here. But now there's tear gas in Hal Anderson Park. And it's getting really dangerous again. It looks like the peaceful protests are over now, folks, because once the police incite violence like this, you never know what will happen because people are really angry. This is a peaceful protest that was broken up by police with concussion grenades, tear gas, etc. You can hear it. It sounds like a war zone now. Look, all the way down there, them going off. And behind me, people are building barricades. So this is a scene from the park. People are running from the area because of the gas clouds, which you can see way over there. And then, oh, you can hear them too. It's a familiar sight and sound in Seattle. The police love to use these devices. And the crowd, in response, built these barricades with dumpsters, so trying to protect themselves. So that is a huge cloud of something right there. There's actually a gas canister in the park.
Violence. We did not come yet once with violence. And just like that, a protest is over.
This is how they end protests in Seattle. With concussion grenades, tear gas. This is Mark Taylor-Canfield for the MTC report. And I'm on the front lines of the battle in Seattle, round 2, at the same spot where the infamous pink umbrella riot took place, where a police officer attacked a pink umbrella, and then the police attacked the crowd with tear gas and concussion grenades and pepper spray, calling it a riot. So people came back the next day in much larger numbers, and they've been coming back every night since the pink umbrella riot, and tonight is no exception. It is 7 days now, 1 week since the protests began in Seattle, which are also happening all across the country and in cities internationally, where people are speaking out against racism and against the killing of people by the police. So this is the police line behind me, and you can see that people are projecting some video on that's usually, I'll bet you anything that is the Backbone campaign and Bill Moyer over here. This is Mark Taylor-Canfield, and I'm in Seattle where the pink umbrella riot took place on Monday, and this is for all of you out there in the streets standing for justice. Mr. Boss Man, we don't need any more wars. I said, Mr. Boss Man, down that road no more. Mr. Boss Man, won't you hear us when we call? Mr. Boss Man, won't you hear us when we call? I said, now you ain't so big now, you just talk, that's all. Man, we don't need any more hate. I said, Mr. Boss Man, we don't need any more hate. I said, we've had too many already. Ain't You just talk, that's all.